good. This is the primary election candidate forum for Board of Supervisors, District 5, and the election is going to be June 2nd. The candidates are Mr. Michael Gallagher, Mr. Chris Hillstrom, and Mr. Gary Oxley. Please stand. We're going to do the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the League of Women Voters of the Reading area is very happy to host this event tonight. We're also pleased to be here at the Frontier Senior Center, and thanks to Trish Clark and the facility for hosting us. As a matter of fact, if one of these three candidates does not get 50% plus one vote, they will not win the primary, and there will be a runoff in November. So I'm sure they're all hoping that they'll get 50% plus one. My name is Mary Spiegel, and I'm your moderator. I would ask you please to silence your phones. The League of Women Voters of the Reading area neither supports nor opposes candidates in any election, but seeks to promote an informed vote and to acquaint voters with all of the candidates and the issues. I have been an observer of the Board of Supervisors meetings for the League this past year, and I can't tell you how much I've learned to appreciate the impressive depth and the breadth of the job that these candidates seek. But as I said last night at the District 1 forum, Google AI says it's not such a big deal. They had the job description reduced to 2 sentences. I'm sorry, this microphone's getting a little jumpy here. So Google AI says the Shasta County Board of Supervisors is a 5-member local governing board for Shasta County, elected to 4-year staggered terms to represent distinct geographic districts. They hold executive, legislative, and quasi-judicial roles, overseeing county departments, setting policy, approving the budget, and appointing officials. So that's their job description. We're going to be following the League of Women Voters standard procedure for candidate forums. To begin, each candidate will have up to 3 minutes to introduce themselves by explaining their background, giving us a general idea of their concerns for the county and the reasons for running for office. Following the introductions, I will ask our candidates questions submitted by those in attendance tonight. Questions will be directed to the candidates in rotating order so that the same candidate is not always the first responder. The candidates will have up to 2 minutes to respond to a question. The forum will end with a closing statement of up to 2 minutes by each candidate. The order of speaking tonight was determined by lot. Statements and responses will be timed. Our timers are right here up in front. 30-second warning, and then your time's up. Statements and responses, here we are. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Tonight's event is being recorded by KRCR-TV, right back here, our wonderful gentleman, Adam from KRCR-TV. And then we have our videographer for the League right here, Michael, and he is doing a video that will be on our website. And the one from KIXC will actually be sent to
KRCR.
YouTube.
You said KIXC, it's KRCR.
KRCR, what did I say? Okay, and Shasta Unfiltered is here, thank you. So we're going to conclude at 7:30 tonight, or sooner if we run out of questions, but we have so many questions over there, I don't think we're going to run out. Finally, Please do not clap or shout in response to comments by the candidates. We have a limited amount of time, and we want to answer as many questions as we can. We will now hear the opening statements of up to 3 minutes from each of the candidates. And our first person to give the statement is going to be Mr. Gallagher.
Well, good morning. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight and giving up your time. I am Mike Gallagher. I'm a son, I'm a husband, I'm a dad, and I'm a grandfather. And I absolutely love living in Shasta County. As an avid outdoorsman, I want to protect what we have here. I spend a lot of time out in the woods, and I do cherish that. I've lived in true Northern California my whole life. I was born in Corning, raised in Los Molinos, and came here in 1986, so I've been here for 40 years in Shasta County itself. At 24 years old, I attended a trade school in Phoenix, Arizona, where I graduated #1 in my class and came back, and that was equivalent to a 4-year journeyman education in the HVAC repair trade. That led to 13 plus years of serving commercial and residential customers all across the North State. So I want you to know I've been an employee. I've had my own business and my own contractor's license. We've owned commercial and residential properties. And for the last 11 years, I've served the wonderful residents and the amazing staff right here in the city of Anderson in city government. I want you to know I'll bring all that experience and all the wisdom that I've gained over the many years to the Board of Supervisors as your next District 5 supervisor. One of the challenges I have that I'll probably have time for is the current board majority has lost the ability to be taken seriously. When we have news reports written on the East Coast that are not endearing to us, I have a real problem with that. And so I know that we can do better. I think when we have issues with our work environment at the county, with the workers, I think that's really important that we need to fix that. We have to do better. And that's a top-down thing. That comes from the leadership, and leadership is the Board of Supervisors. So I want to make sure that we do much better on that, and I think we've got a great record here in Anderson of creating an environment where people actually do want to work and they stay and live, work, and play right here in Anderson. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. I think Mr. Kellstrom is next.
All right, welcome everybody. Glad to see you all here this evening. So I was born and raised right here in Shasta County. Went to the same high school my parents went to. My parents went to Enterprise. I went to Enterprise. First moved to Cottonwood in 1988. In 1987, there was a grocery store here in town called Discount Foods. It's where the Fast Food place is now, north of Walmart. That was a grocery store back in the day, and I managed that at the ripe old age of 19 years old. Met my ex-wife. We moved down to the Sacramento area, got stuck down there for about 10, 12 years. We rented for 10 years because this was home, that was temporary. Finally got back home in 2001 and been in Cottonwood ever since. So, love this community, love this county, especially love LaSalle County. So, about 5, 6 years ago, I just decided that I was kind of tired of politicians, to be quite honest with you. And I thought it needed to go back to the normal guy in there doing the job rather than, bureaucrats or elected officials that had made a career out of it. So I ran on term limits 4 years ago, and I'm proud to say that in 2024 we got Measure C on the ballot, and it passed by about 77%. The people, apparently all of you, are kind of sick of politicians too. So now we have 2 terms, and that's it for you have to find another career. So I got the term limits on there. I was very proud of that. Some of the hires that we've made in the last 4 years, 3.5 years, I'm very proud of that too. We brought in a new public health officer, Dr. Moo. He will never close this county down if we have another COVID thing like we did last time. He's not going to be closing businesses and making kids wear masks at school and that stuff. So Dr. Wu is a very fair guy. We've hired a new CEO. We've hired a new county council. I promoted a public works director from within. He's got 20 years experience in the private sector, so he knows how things need to get done, and time is money. He's not just a bureaucrat that gets paid no matter what he does. So I'm very, very proud. We promoted a health and human services director. We've made a lot of improvements, a lot of promotions, a lot of new people, and I'm very proud of the work we've done, and I want to continue that work. I promised 4 years ago I would not take the retirement. I have not taken the retirement. I will not take it next term either. I just don't want to add to the CalPERS mess out there, and I just figure I'm not doing this job for retirement. I'm not doing this job just for a paycheck. I'm doing this job because I want to help people out there. And that's what I'm doing. I still have a lot of work to do. I've got a lot of work done, but I have a lot more work to do, so I would like your vote for a second term. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelster. Now, Mr. Oxley. Mr. Oxley, I'm sorry, it's hard on our cameras. Our cameramen have asked that people not stand up.
Sure, no problem.
I know people in the back have asked to have our candidates stand, but it for the videos, it complicates things. Thank you for your understanding.
I understand, and I'll try to set it high so they can see. I want to thank you all for coming to this evening. It's really a privilege to be able to speak to you. I came to Redding, California in 1995. I was born in Sacramento, went down to the Bay Area, came up here in 95, started work at Redding Medical Center in the Open Heart program, then started working over in shock trauma at Mercy and also in their ER, and then ended my hospital career at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in the ER, and then I did a stint with the VA, and that's where I ended my nursing career in 2019. And then Wendy and I started a business, Rejuvenate Pools and Spas, which we owned until we closed our doors due to the economy in 2025. And so since that time, I've been retired. Wendy and I have been working on developing a 67-acre ranch. That's our goal, to be independent and try to help provide meat and other services and food to our local people here in Chester County. I was a Army medic in the Army Reserves for 8 years. I was the chairman of the California Rifle Pistol Association. We introduced and had passed that resolution with the Board of Supervisors in 2023. Sorry for saying wrong, that's not appropriate. So in nursing and in business, it takes a lot of leadership and knowledge how to work with people to get results. And in nursing, I did a really good job in leadership. I was promoted from one hospital to be a regional director for 13 different hospitals on the West Coast. And I got that promotion because of what we did here locally at Vibra Hospital. I know how to organize, I know how to assess things, I know how to make a determination on how to fix problems, how to plan and implement, and the most important thing about planning and doing things is to come up with a way to evaluate whether that plan has been effective or not. If it's not effective, then we need to go back to the drawing board and start over. I joined this race because, first of all, I believe we need to put God back in our lives. We need to strengthen our family ties, and we need to be able to defend our inalienable rights given to us by our Creator. That's why I'm in the race. What drew me in was because of some decisions that the supervisors had made that I think took away some of those rights. And if we have a chance this evening, we'll talk about that. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Oxley, you also get the first question here tonight. Supervisor Matt Plummer, District 4, sends out an email newsletter keeping his constituents informed. Will you commit to an earnest effort to keep us informed?
Absolutely. Myself as one supervisor cannot make effective change here in Chester County. It takes the whole board working together to do that. And also, most importantly, it takes working with you. If we can't work with you to come up with solutions, then we're just dictators telling you what to do. So absolutely, it's imperative that I keep you informed about what's going on, getting feedback from you, and then assessing how we can go forward and evaluating that effectiveness of that plan.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Gallagher, what about you? Will you keep your constituents informed?
Yeah, the obvious answer would be yes, and I think Matt Plummer has done a great job of creating a model that we can all follow. I will be honest with you, I'm not the greatest tech person, but I did marry somebody who's really good at that, so I'm believing we're gonna figure that one out. But response is really important. When you do reach out to a supervisor, you really should get response every time. That's what we say yes to, and even if we have situations that maybe we don't agree on, it's more about having a good, honest conversation and collaborating and trying to get understanding. And when we get understanding, we can probably find some common ground. So I think it's vital that communication would continue, and I think we can do that really well. I'm a big fan of face-to-face, and I still use the telephone. The amazing thing, those supercomputers we carry around in our pockets are still phones. So I really like to just have good conversation. That's what I really want to. So some town hall meetings I think will be very, very important, and gatherings, even with those who maybe we see differently. We just don't agree, but we need to be meeting, we need to be talking, and finding common ground. That's what I will absolutely commit to.
Thank you. And Mr. Kellstrom, what about you? Are you going to put out an email newsletter?
Well, I don't know if I'll put on an email newsletter, but I think I keep pretty much everybody informed. I go to just about everything there is to go to in my district. So if there's the breakfast here once a month, I'm here. The VFW breakfast, I'm there. The Shingletown Volunteer Fire Department breakfast, I'm up there. I go to every festival. For instance, Saturday, my schedule was second Saturday of the month, so I had the VFW breakfast, met with everybody there, ran to Shingletown, met with them there, came back down the hill, went to the Spring Fling in Cottonwood, cut the ribbon for the Chamber of Commerce on a business that celebrated its first year. Then I went to Laborers Day picnic out at Amherstburg Park. So I go to just about everything I possibly can go to, and that's actually, I enjoy doing that because I love getting around normal, everyday people that aren't going to send an email, they're not going to make a phone call, they're not going to come to our meetings, they're not going to speak for 3 minutes in public comment. You will never, ever see them coming to us or getting us, but I'll take tickets at the front door of the Cottonwood Rodeo both days, Mother's Day weekend. And Cool April Nights, I'll be a judge at Cool April Nights. I am like everywhere out there that I possibly can be at. And I love interacting with normal, everyday people that will come up to me. Again, people that will never send an email or make a phone call, but they'll come up to me and say, hey, keep up the good work. I love what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. That's why, again, I could sit back and write an email or a newsletter, but I would rather be out in the community face-to-face, talking to people, everyday people, and doing it that way.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher, you get this next question. What are your top 3 priorities as a supervisor?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Top 3 priorities. Well, public safety is always number one, and I think what that looks like is when the people in eastern Shingletown can get a phone call, they can have a response that they feel safe about. I think it's the DA, it looks like the DA having all the resources to prosecute all their cases, not just some of them. It also means that probation, who are out there taking care of all those folks who find themselves in the criminal justice system but aren't behind bars. It's the probation department, and they need all the tools they can get to do their jobs effectively. So that's really important to me. I think streets and roads, most of my constituents and folks that I go down to, especially in Cottonwood, the roads are really bad. And I think getting pavement done again, at somehow, some way, we're going to figure out how to get some roads paved. Infrastructure is critical. Wastewater treatment plants are critical. Those can't be, you just don't get to kick those things down the road. So that's really important to me. My third pillar too is, as you've probably seen on my website and all my information, is domestic violence. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and we need to do better. It's a county-wide problem, And so I think what I will be doing very quickly when I'm elected, we'll be having a multi-jurisdictional collaborative presentation before the Board of Supervisors that will tell us where we've been, where we are, and where we need to go, because I believe we need to learn from the experts that are doing the hard lifting in that area and learn from them and see what they need to do that better. We got to bring that down. That number has to come down.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Kellstrom, same question. What are your top priorities, top 3 priorities as a supervisor?
Well, of course, public safety is always a big one, which I'm proud to say we did pass a fire ordinance here last year. We hadn't had a good fire ordinance here for quite some time, so I'm very proud of that work. We do have a fire ordinance in place now, and we got grant funding for 2 fire inspectors to run that ordinance and a masticator to help people with their projects or their properties. So obviously, public safety, law and order is a big one, so I fully back the sheriff 100%. I stand behind him and all the gals and guys in, well, not blue, they wear green. Every time I go to one of their functions, I wear blue and honor them, and they're all wearing green. But anyhow, I support the sheriff 100%. Right now, he's working on an alternative custody program that happens to be in my district, and it's very unpopular with a lot of the residents in my district there. So I'm taking a step back from that one because I'm torn there where I want to support the sheriff, and I do we need to do something with law and order, but I also have to represent my constituents in that area. So that's a tough one. I want to continue doing the work with resource management. I'm very proud to say that they've made some great strides. They made the permitting process a little bit easier. We cut some regulations that were countywide that we didn't need to have. Our hands are still tied with thousands upon thousands of state regulations, and our hands are tied with those. We can't ignore them. But I'm very proud of the work that team has done. I was in the barbershop one day, and somebody was getting a haircut, and he didn't know who I was. We used to call that my southern office, and this gentleman told Woody that he had to go to the county and get a permit, and he was really dreading it. And he said that they were really friendly, and they helped me a lot. And I said, "You're welcome." And then he said, "Yeah," he says, "I'd heard that they were horrible to work with, and there was 2 kids that said, 'No, we want to get your project done.'" So I'm proud of that work. And then, of course, we're working on the medical hospital, the med school. That's not just a pipe dream. I think that actually can come to fruition. So that's a big one. And I've been working on some large projects in my area. And then the last thing I'm going to say is we got to save Lake Macomber and Albert Reservoir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Oxley, same question.
So I have 3 top priorities. 2 of them are very positive and one's not so positive. So the very first positive one is that we need to put God first back in our lives. Everything about our Christian heritage can be read in the Van Buren versus Perry Supreme Court case, where the Supreme Court justices tell that our history of our Christian nation in that case. So the first thing I'd like to do is get our national motto placed above the county insignia in the Board of Chambers. Second thing I'd like to do is I'd like to have a historical 10 Commandment monument put on the administrative property as well. And if it's done in a historical manner, it will not violate the First Amendment and is supported by this Van Orden versus Perry case. The third one would be is I want to create a resolution that lets it be known in Shasta County that we value the Christian values that built this country, that our founding fathers held so dear to. They all said that if we do not adhere to the morals and values and the religious principles, that this republic would not last. Most of us sitting here today were taught that we could not speak religion and politics to our family and friends. I remember hearing that. And how well has that served us? We need to bring that back. The second one is there's a business personal property tax exemption of $10,000 that the Board of Supervisors has only authorized $1,900. I want to get that up to $10,000 that is by state law authorized. The third thing is that our parental rights from so many people, and many of those families are here this evening, have lost their parental rights due to the inefficiency of the Child Protective Services and their inability to provide reunification services.
Thank you, Mr. Oxley. Next question for you, Mr. Kellstrom. Are there any political concerns unique to District 5?
Well, I believe I just touched on one of them a minute ago. So the alternative custody program that is over north of the Jolly Green Giant Flea Market along 273 there. It's very unpopular with the residents of that area. You know, a lot of them have asked me, well, you know, why can't you put it somewhere else? It's like, well, find us 90 acres for $1 and we will definitely take a look at it. So again, that's the situation we're in there. So that's, you know, it's unpopular. I just had a project go in Manton, a solar farm go in Manton. You know, I went down there when I met with the first meeting down there, and one of my friends basically, I mean, somebody I've known that made friends with it in Manton. She said, I'm going to put you on the spot. You know, I want to know, what are your thoughts on this? Well, what's your feelings? And I said, you're not putting me on the spot at all. I said, my feelings are the least valuable opinion in this entire room. What I think about this solar project makes no difference at all. My job as a representative is to represent you, the people of Manton. And if you're all for it, then I'm all for it. If you're all against it, then I'm all against it. So it did go through the planning commission. It did get approved, but 3-2 of the planning commission. It came back to the board of supervisors on an appeal. And again, I didn't want to vote against my own resource or my own planning commissioner, but I represented the people of Manton, and I said I had to vote no because I had to represent them. So there's plenty of controversial things, and you know, if you do your job correctly as a representative, you represent the people, and you guys make decisions for us. We just represent you and go through with your wishes.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher, do you think there are any political concerns that are unique to District 5?
Yeah, starting with, as I've traveled from Happy Valley to Shingletown, from Anderson down to Cottonwood, back and forth, as I've been meeting with folks, one of the main political concerns, again, is the attitude that the Board of Supervisors is just not representing them well, and there's a lot of terminology that I can't use in this forum because my wife said I couldn't do it, and from just being very disappointed to actually way more than that. So really, the representation that we have at the board chambers for our South County is just not adequate, and so with that as well, infrastructure is a real problem, and what has happened recently is they decided to, well, I don't know how recently, but they decided to get rid of impact fees. The danger with that is that impact fees are what covers services and are part of the revenue streams for schools and roads and sewer lines and all your infrastructure. It's really good in the beginning when you get rid of an impact fee, but 20 years down the road, you need those fees to pay for the repairs, because what happens is a contractor will come in and build the infrastructure, and then the entity inherits it. And so your impact fees are what cover the cost for 20 years down the road. So we have a real issue coming because of that particular vote. So, and that's going to affect South County. Trust me, it's going to affect all of us in South County.
Thank you. Mr. Oxley, do you think there are any political concerns unique to District 5?
Yes, there are. First, I'd like to address the alternative custody program. I highly oppose that. If you read the grand jury report that they did on the jail, they talked about illicit drugs in our jail. So I don't think that we should be building another facility if we can't keep the illicit drugs out of the current jail that we have. So I strongly oppose it on that merit alone. Sheriff Johnson needs to get those illicit drugs out of there. So when they do want to build another facility somewhere in our neighborhoods, those drugs aren't going to get in and cause potential harm for our citizens. I want to go back to this Child Protective Service Agency issue. This is a very sensitive issue. Families are here this evening because supervisors have failed to talk to them about this, said it's not in their jurisdiction when it is absolutely in their jurisdiction. As a bare minimum, they could be doing an administrative review to find out if these allegations are true. We've got families who were separated from their children without any reunification services. And what that means is the primary goal of the Child Protective Service Agency is to ensure the safety of the child. Second is to make sure that they do everything within their power to reunify that family in a timely manner. There were court orders made and for reunification services and never carried through. And we've got, right now, I've spoken to about 13 different families. We have issues here, but we need to be honest and truthful, and we can't be afraid of the red flag. As a nurse taking care of you, if I'm looking at you and I see a high temperature, high heart rate, I know something's not right. If I don't look at that as a red flag and go to the doctor to say, hey, we need help, I'm being negligent in my duties. I would be negligent in my duties to the people of Shasta County if we did not bring this issue forward. We need a forensic audit of Health and Human Services and Child Protective Services.
Thank you. Mr. Kelstern, this next question goes to you first. California Fish and Game wants to have the Anderson Cottonwood Irrigation District remove the irrigation diversion dam on the Sacramento River so they can send more water down the river to improve the salmon fishing. What is your response?
Well, first of all, that is I don't remember how many tens of millions of dollars to put in more pumps and take out that dam. The dam's worked for 100 years. It's only up there for the summertime. The problem with the salmon, is quite frankly, it's the stripers. The stripers are the problem with the salmon. Last time they took a dam out was the Red Bluff Diversion Dam, and they took that dam out, and stripers, when I was a kid, we never had stripers up this far. And I fished that river a lot when I was a kid. We had salmon, we had trout, we had the pike minnow, they call them, the squawfish basically, but we didn't have stripers. Now we have stripers now, and they wait until the fry are this big so that they can tag them and put them in the water. Well, that's perfect size for a striper to eat. So literally they dump 500,000 fry into the water, and about 499,000 of them are killed that day. So I don't really think removing the diversion dam is really going to help them a whole lot. I don't think it's going to help the salmon season a whole lot. I think what they need to do is they need to put no limits on stripers and no size limits, no bag limits, and get as many of those stripers out of that river that we possibly can.
Thank you. Well, you really know what's going on at the ACID department. Anyway, so I'm impressed with your response. Mr. Oxley, can you all do that?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
So if they want to remove that, they have to get past me first. There are times in our lives, ladies and gentlemen, if our founding fathers didn't stand up to King George and say, no, you do not get to do this, even though the law said that he could do those things, we wouldn't be here today. So there are times, so if somebody wants to come around and say, let's remove that diversion dam, it's going to be, no, you're not going to do that, and I will stand in your way physically. We had an issue with water several years ago with that ACID canal being dried up, and a lot of people lost their wells and found their farms. That should have never happened. The current board of supervisors at that time should have made sure that that got open. They should have been there night and day, standing up for the people whose farms were destroyed. That was not right. It is difficult to do the right thing, especially when people are saying, well, you can't do that because the law says you can't. Well, I'm sorry that there are times, ladies and gentlemen, that you have to stand up and say, no, you are not going to take our rights away. You are not going to take our farms away. You're not going to take the water away that we need. So if anybody wants to take that diversion dam away, they're going to have to go through me as well.
Mr. Gallagher, California Fish and Game wants to have the ACID Irrigation District remove the irrigation diversion dam on the Sacramento River so they can send more water down the river to improve salmon fishing. What is your response?
Okay. Those were two okay responses, but somewhat inaccurate. So when it comes to salmon, the real problem with the salmon runs in the Sacramento River is happening in the Bering Sea. It's the raping and pillaging of the salmon stocks that actually make it into the feeding grounds, and they run miles of dragnet. It's all indiscriminate catch, and they kill tons and tons, metric tons of salmon. They don't come back because the Bering Sea is being raped and nobody's saying a word about it. The ACID canal is now part of the ecosystem of the valley. To remove that would be ridiculous on one level, stupid on another, and inhumane on a third level. It is now, because it's been there so long, the trees, the grasses, the pasture lands, all the feeding, all the personal property that requires that water now, you can't go back. It's been there way too long, you can't go back. I think that cool heads should prevail in this. I don't think Department of Fish and Wildlife on their own can just remove that dam. I think facts will actually prevail as well, and we have to stand up for the truth. And then I would disagree with Mr. Oxley is that the ACID board has their own board. The supervisors don't get to call the shots on that one. They have their own governing board, and they need to be sovereign, and they need to make better decisions maybe, but it's not the Board of Supervisors' responsibility. And by the way, that's a federal facility, so if you decide to go stand there with a gun or anything else, as Mr. Kellstrom did, it's going to be ugly. I'm just telling you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Oxley, this next question is for you. What measures or method do you propose to increase Shasta County jail capacity and to provide funding for staffing the facility? Also, is building a jail on prime Sacramento River property the only option?
Where does crime start? Crime starts in the house, with the families. So if we're wanting to make more beds for more criminals, then we've been negligent to helping our families build strong character within our children. So I think that's where I would like to focus things, is at the family level. What can we do as Board of Supervisors to help strengthen our families? What can we do to teach our children morals and values that they will respect the law? So that's where I would like to start there. I already mentioned that the jail has an illicit drug problem. The sheriff needs to take care of that problem before we look at building any other facilities, as far as I'm concerned. If we don't teach our children good morals and values, you guys, we've lost. None of us in here are 16 anymore. We have children that are grown, we have grandchildren. Our schools aren't teaching morals and values, but I believe that as Board of Supervisors, as the head, as the highest up ranking officials in Shasta County, we need to do everything that we can to teach good morals and values to our children, to prevent crime. What happened to the DARE program? We need to bring that back. We need to help children understand that crime is wrong, and that's where I would go.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher, I'm going to repeat this because it's a two-part question. What measures or method do you propose to increase Shasta County jail capacity and to provide funding for the staffing facility? Also, is building a jail on prime Sacramento River property the only option?
Well, I'm not going to answer the question directly. I think where we have to go in this particular topic is the state of California needs to get back into the penitentiary business. What has happened to the county is they've been dumped on because 14 out of 15 state-ran penitentiaries have been closed, and they're trying to close the 15th one. So we can talk about local projects, and we can talk about how we're going to staff the jail, which I don't know how I don't think our county's big enough to staff, to produce enough revenues to staff a 1,200 bed jail. I haven't ran the numbers. It just doesn't make sense because we only have 480 now, so, and we're struggling with that. And I'm a big fan of Mike Johnson, so it's not about the sheriff. I'm just talking about what has been dumped on us by the state of California. AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57 has just absolutely covered all the counties across California, not just Shasta County. So what I will be pushing for, and I'm going to start shouting this from the rooftops, is we need to open at least 5 of those penitentiaries. We have to get the state-run penitentiaries back in business so that we can lessen the really bad criminals that are in our county jail. There are people in our county jail that should not see the light of day. That's the truth. I did some rough numbers, did some research. We probably have, if we could get 60 people out of our jail, our county jail, and get them back into a facility where they belong, then that would free us up to actually be able to handle what we have going on in our county with the low-level offenders. The other thing I will be pushing for, and I've already had conversations about, is we need to open up our fire camps for the low-level people. And that's a really great way to serve them.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Kellstrom, do you want me to repeat it? Or
No, I think I'm good. So 4 years ago, June, after the June primary, they closed the floor of that jail and let basically 100 people out on the street. So I won in November. I was seated in January. So basically in December, I started working on that. And I did tell the sheriff at the time, hey, if my idea works, I'll let you have all the credit. If it blows up in our face, I'll take all the blame. So I have let him take all the credit for the last 3.5 years, but now in front of you people, I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of that credit because we got the jail fully staffed. Right now, we have a floor closed because they're doing remodels, they're remodeling it. So we have, those prisoners aren't back on the street. We've contracted with Calaveras County, and I believe it's, don't quote me, it might be Santa Rosa, but we contracted with another jail, and we have those prisoners being held in those other county jails. So is it the best option for the riverfront property? It's not the best option, but it's the most viable option at this point. It's 90 acres for $1 that we've got, but again, those are my constituents, so I'm going to stay away from that. But what I would like to do is, once we get that floor back open and get those prisoners back from Calaveras County, if we have no place else to put our prisoners, we're still under contract with them, I would look into sending some of our prisoners out to other counties that have room for them and put them in their jails.
Thank you. The next question is for Mr. Gallagher. If Measure B passes and a lawsuit is initiated to stop implementation, what will your response be?
That's a hot topic. My response would be, if the voters vote to pass it, then we will do what it takes to implement it. That would be our obligation as electeds. I think it's important to remember that a group of people went and got the signatures required and got it on the ballot. Whether you're for it or against it, they went through the due process, it went through the courts twice, and now it's on the ballot, and it is actually in your hands. It's not just in mine, it's actually in the voters' hands. By the way, that's the democratic process that sets this country apart from most others. And so whether we like Measure B or we don't like Measure B, I believe that it's actually, maybe in a long time, been a process where the people got something on the ballot, and it will be up to the people to vote for it. And then it'll be up to the supervisors to make sure that we do our best to carry out that measure. That's my answer to that question.
Thank you. Mr. Kellstrom. If Measure B passes and a lawsuit is initiated to stop implementation, what will your response be?
Well, it's not if a lawsuit will be initiated, it's when a lawsuit will be initiated. So first of all, I like just about everything in Measure B. I want voter ID. I signed Carl DeMaio's initiative, and I will be voting for that in November. I want voter ID. We had limited drop boxes. We had 20 drop boxes removed out of this county, and the 4 we have left have cameras on them. So we've done some things for election integrity, and again, the mailed out ballots, I would love to see us go back to absentee ballots. But I've said from day number one, you don't change state law, you don't change federal law by putting an amendment in your charter. That's not how it works. So again, you change it by Carl DeMaio getting signatures on the state level, getting on the state ballot, and we can overturn that law and get voter ID. So we will be sued, we've already been sued, we've already had a couple lawsuits involved with it, and it hasn't even made it to the ballot yet. When it gets to the ballot, if it's voted by the people, we will be sued again before it's ever implemented. And I explained to the people that did this, they keep saying Huntington Beach, Huntington Beach, Huntington Beach. So I explained to them at the time, listen, what Huntington Beach did is Huntington Beach put a charter in their city charter, which by the way, as soon as they did it, California passed a law saying no other county or city can do that. But regardless of that, they put it in their city charter, and they said they wanted to get voter ID. Well, they could only get voter ID for citywide elections. They couldn't get them for county elections, state elections, federal elections. So I explained to these people that were writing this thing, if you want to copy Huntington Beach, then you're going to have to sell to the taxpayers that you're going to take between $2 and $3 million to break out the ballots and have a separate county ballot versus a state and federal ballot. If you want to copy Huntington Beach, so you're going to sell that to the taxpayers. I don't think the taxpayers are going to want to spend an extra $2 million for like 6 races that are on the county, which would be the only ones you could ask for voter ID for if you want to copy Huntington Beach.
Thank you. Mr. Oxley, if Measure B passes and a lawsuit is initiated to stop implementation, what will your response be?
I think my response would be that we have to file an injunction to sue the state and to fight back for those rights. And nobody knows for certain. I understand that what Supervisor Kellstrom is saying, but there's no guarantee that the state's gonna turn around and sue us. That's not, we won't know that until it happens. So to say and assume that they're gonna sue us is not reality. When it happens, it will happen. But if it happens, then we can file an injunction to stop what they're trying to do, and the fight will just continue. We have the right to do those things as a charter county. Supervisor Kellstrom voted for the charter county, its existence, and now we're trying to use it, and he's been, in my opinion, he's been hindering that process since the beginning, and it's been proof that county council has not proven to be all wise, especially when the judge has overruled it twice. I have supported Measure B from the very beginning, and will do, and will continue to make sure that we can do everything that we can as Board of Supervisors to make sure that those principles are implemented if the voters pass it. But we don't even know if the voters will pass it. I'm assuming that they will, but we don't even know if that happens. So we need to get it on the ballot like it is now, where there should never have been a big fight. It should have just been placed on the ballot and let the voters have their day. They went through due process, and to let them vote. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oxley. Next question goes to Mr. Kellstrom. The City of Anderson has taken positive steps to reduce the costs to maintain our sewage disposal operations by installing solar power to reduce PG&E costs. Do you see other possible ways that we could improve Shasta County systems?
Well, they installed solar, which is fantastic, but this is after they voted to raise the sewer rates by 288% over the last 3 years, or this coming year, last year, and current year. So, yeah, I'm all for cost savings. We've done solar projects ourselves in several different areas. Right now, I know a lot of people are upset that the old courthouse is going to be torn down. I was the only one that voted against that, by the way. But we looked into that extensively, and the cost to just have this building standing there is about $20,000 a month. A lot of the air conditioners don't work. The front of it is not ADA compliant. So there's a ton of there. So we look at cost savings all the time, and a lot of times people can't see it from the outside looking in. I've had people reach out to me on the courthouse, for instance, and it's like, it really is the cheapest way to go to make it a parking lot. And again, I'm voted against it because I just hate to see that grand old building torn down. But yeah, the county does all sorts. We do a lot of cost savings. And next June we'll have our budget. And by the way, I go through every single line in that budget. I look at every single line, every single page. You'll see me pretty tan at the middle of June because I will be out reading that budget in the sun with a marker and some little market notes, and sit there and go through every single line in that budget. So I'm very proud to say that the county right now is running in the black. We're one of the few jurisdictions that are running in the black. City of Anderson's running in the red. I believe City of Reading's running in the red. Tehama County's running in the red. So I'm very proud of that. We have some great fiscal hawks in charge. Dave Rickard was elected treasurer in Illinois. He's our CEO. Aaron Bertain, Jen Rossi, we have Nola Short, our audit controller. We have just some absolutely amazing people that are fiscal hawks, and believe me, we don't spend a dime if it's not warranted.
Thank you, Mr. Oxley. The City of Anderson has taken positive steps to reduce the cost to maintain our sewage disposal operations by installing solar power to reduce PG&E costs. Do you see other possible ways that we could improve Shasta County systems?
Honestly, I can't say that I have a lot of knowledge about the things that the city of Anderson has done, unfortunately. I believe that we need to look at all alternative ways to cut costs. Our ability to provide for our families is becoming more and more difficult every time that there's a rate increase for energy or for gasoline. So I think it's imperative that we need to look at all those alternatives. I myself have not done that, but in the way that I do business, we identify a problem, we assess it, we make a plan, implement it, and then we evaluate to see if that plan's been effective. So I am in favor of looking at all sources of alternative means of energy. I just have not looked at that one specifically. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher?
It's true that we had to make the bold, courageous decision to raise wastewater rates by about 280% over 5 years. It'll be a 65% first year that'll get us almost breaking even on the cost to run the plant and maintain the 40 miles of pipe in the ground. The second 65 will be the beginning of raising half of the amount of money that we'll need over the next 15 to 20 years, which is about 25 million. We'll be raising 11 million of that to do the repairs and the upgrades that are needed. That particular system is called an enterprise fund. We don't get to use other funds and other monies to maintain that system. It's all by the ratepayer, or you can pass a bond measure and get a 20-year fix on 40-year money, of which we are still paying on a bond from 2007 that will be paid off in 38. So yes, we did raise rates, and that's why we decided to pull the trigger on a solar system so that we can actually reduce the rate of energy. One of our largest increases over the last 5 years was a 30% year-over-year increase by PG&E alone. That was a $40,000 bill a month that increased by 30% 2 years in a row. So we had to do it. We were behind because we had a flat our income on our wastewater fund was flat for 10 years. We did not raise rates for a decade. It was a 1.9 million income, and that just didn't maintain anymore. So that's why we did that. Now the beauty of the solar project is it's a 65-65, 13-13-13. But we don't have to raise it 13%, we can do less than that. So when the solar project that's operating at 125% of design right now comes through, maybe we can reduce that amount instead of 13% of those last years, and we'll work on that for sure.
Thank you. Mr. Oxley, this next question goes to you first. What are your concerns about the Pathways to Leadership project?
I don't have enough information that I feel comfortable discussing that right now, but I would encourage any of you that email me that question. But it's a big question, and I've not come to any conclusion yet.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher.
Well, I've taken 2 opportunities to speak on that project. I spoke at the Board of Supervisors meeting, the meeting after they decided to give 1.925 million in matching grant funds to a project that was, let me be gentle, horrible, ill-advised, unprofessional, and actually there was fraudulent in the application. I read every line of it and found multiple fraudulent statements in it. And so I stood up with my amazing city who showed up, and we said, this is not right. It's disappointing. I can't imagine that any of the Board of Supervisors actually read the application, or they wouldn't have given opioid money that needs to be cherished and used very wisely to a project so wrong. It was just wrong on every level. So I'm very proud of the public who sent petitions around. We got 180 signatures and people showed up. First time in my 7 years and counting career on a dais where we were standing room only. We had an amazing group of folks and 17 very articulate speakers that did a great job. I couldn't be prouder of our community to come out. And we shut that thing down as far as I know. And we need to learn from this. We actually need to learn. We had a project called the True North Center that was going to be brilliant for our county and really do amazing things, and our board majority killed that one. They just killed it, folks. That was a real shame. And then they gave $2 million of opioid money to a project for matching funds. It was just, couldn't be more ill-advised.
Great, I'm glad you asked this question because I'd like to clear up some misinformation. Some that was said at our board meeting, some that was just said right here, right now. So that $2 million had strings all over it. That $2 million, when Les Baugh was a last minute thing, he thought he had the match. First of all, he did come to me months ahead of time and wanted a letter of recommendation or a letter of support for it. At that point, he didn't say where it was going to go or whose community it was going to be in or anything else. It was just this, Sandra Wilson was brilliant and she ran really good programs, and so I gave him a letter of support. He thought he had the match, and at the last minute, he didn't have the match. He estimated his property to be $1.5 million or $1.6 million, and it was valued at $550,000, so he needed to come up with some funds. He needed to come up with them quickly. It was a very rushed job. He came to us. It was the last minute to get it onto the agenda. So our county, again, Fiscal Hawks, our county CEO and Aaron Bertain sat down with him, and they tied strings to that money, and they said, in order for you to get this money, you have to get a letter of support from the city council. We do not want to force this on the city of Anderson like the project he just bragged about was forced into the city of Shasta Lake. We did not want to, we wanted to make sure that there were strings attached to this, so they had to get a letter of approval from the city council, they had to get a letter of support from either the police chief and or the sheriff, and we tied a third string on there and said you have to get a letter of support from Tracy Neal, the head of probation and who runs the junior detention center, the juvenile detention center. So that money was never promised. That money was saying, if the people of Anderson want this money and the city council wants this money and the police chief is okay with this project, then great, we'll give you the money. That's how you're gonna get it. But if they don't want it, you're not getting it. We're not giving you a dime. So not a dime of that money was given because obviously the city council wasn't for it. My first thought that there's a problem is I texted the police chief from the board meeting and said, are you okay with this project? He says, I don't know anything about it. Nobody's talked to me. So that was the first red flag. There was no money given, and that money would not have been given if you guys did not want that project, and obviously you did not want it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gallagher, why would having a state men's reentry program be beneficial for Shasta County?
I guess I'm not sure it would be beneficial for Shasta County if they're not Shasta County reentry people. So I think it's really important that we would know where these folks that are going through the reentry program are actually coming from. If it was to serve our local folks who have found themselves in the criminal justice system and we were going to support them in reentering, I would be for that. If we're reentering people from out of county and across the fruited plains and who knows where from, then I would be against. I don't think we have the resources or the energy or the staff to deal with folks that are outside of our county. I do want to circle back on the previous question because I think it applies. The design of the facility that was going to go to Shasta Lake was actually pretty brilliant. And even if it wasn't going to go in Shasta Lake, I think that we need to know that we need a facility like that. Mental health is a serious issue in our county, and everyone knows that that's the case. So I'm gonna run out of time, but I think what you have to remember is that the Board of Supervisors voted to give the money. They absolutely said yes, except for Alan Long was the only one courageous enough to ask really hard questions that didn't get answered, and none of us in Anderson knew about it, except the mayor of that year, who was no longer the mayor, but it looked like was representing the city on the staff, on the application. So I'm gonna push back on that one a little bit while I can, because we desperately need a really good facility. We need to know where it's gonna go. It has to be the right place. And we have to be able to have those set aside matching funds, because that's the way these projects work. You get a grant and then you need the matching funds, so you need those set aside.
Thank you. Mr. Killstrom, why would having a state men's reentry program be beneficial to Shasta County?
Well, again, without taking where it's supposed to be going, there is a company called Amity, and they run these houses in Southern California. I know the sheriff and Kevin Pry went down there and toured them. I believe Matt Plummer might have went with them. And that's why I was kind of out of the loop. So most of my information came from the sheriff, because Brown Act they could not talk to me about it if there's two supervisors involved. So according to what the sheriff said, this Amity program, they take half the population out of the state prison and half the population out of the county. They try to take locals, but if they take somebody from another county, they're shipped back to that other county when they're let go. So the Amity program, it looked like a pretty good program. They're locked up at night. They have ankle monitors on them during the day. They teach them trades. They clean up their records. They get them ready to enter back into society. They teach them a trade. They'll get them a job. Usually they'll be food handlers in a kitchen or dishwashers or whatever. So they're released during the day to go do their job with an ankle monitor on. They have to come back. If they break any of the rules, they go back to prison or jail, wherever they came from. So it looked like it was a good program, but again, the fact of the matter, where they want to put it is in my district, and I have a lot of residents that are not happy with it. So if we were to put that somewhere else, it probably would be a pretty good program for the area.
Thank you. Mr. Oxley?
I think a men's reentry program is great, but I would not support one that's for the whole state. I think it needs to be for local citizens here. There's just not enough funds, money to go around to support the whole state. The other concern that I would have about this program and about all these other programs that we're talking about is, what is their curriculum? I know that they gave $2.4 million to a organization here, and their curriculum, they were not able to choose their curriculum because every time they choose one, the scientific model is now outdated. So how can you get a curriculum? Why should you get money if you don't have a valid curriculum to help these folks? So we need to not just say, hey, this is a great idea for men's reentry program. We need to look at what's being taught. We need to understand if it's actually really helping them. Are the rates of crime, the rates of mental health, suicide, nothing's really changed here in Shasta County despite all the different programs that we have. So as supervisors, we need to really start looking at the curriculum. We need to look at the bottom line and see what's being taught to these folks, not just taking the word of the people that are seeking the money to provide that service.
Thank you, Mr. Oxley. Mr. Killstrom, this one's for you. What is your plan for homeless services, and what more can be done to clean up the mess left behind by homeless encampments?
Well, I mean, that's definitely a problem. We moved some money, some ARPA funds into Public Works to specifically for cleaning up homeless camps. It's quite a problem out there. Now, we'll catch a lot of flack sometimes as a supervisor, and I like to point out, no offense to Nessa, but 99% of the problem, 95% of the problem is the city of Reading. That's where you see the biggest homeless camps is in the city of Reading. It's not so much in the county jurisdiction. Now, with that being said, we do have them in the county jurisdiction. We've had some problems up in Shingletown with squatters more really than homeless. We've had some problems out in Happy Valley, same thing, squatters. So, which, we have a problem on Airport Road right now with squatters. So that is a huge problem, but we do have ARPA money funds. And what the county's been doing is, like, for instance, these properties up in Shingletown, we contact the landowner and say, hey, listen, you need to get this property cleaned up, or if the county goes and cleans it up, then we're gonna we're going to charge you. We started doing our first abatement hearings last year, and we were listening from cases from 2017 and 2018 because between resource management and our county counsel's office, we hadn't been doing abatement hearings until just recently. So now we're doing abatement hearings every week. They take these properties after the county has cleaned them up. We send them a bill. We lien the property, send them a bill, and then we'll take it to lien hearing, and we'll oftentimes take the property. We've taken a couple of them up in Shingletown. I think we took one in Happy Valley. So we take these properties and then we put them on the market and sell them. I did help set up a fund when I first got elected. I had a problem, 31,000 Highway 44, going into Shingletown, and I went to the, naive, I was pretty naive. I went to Lori Scott and I said, hey, why can't we just clean this property up and then, sell it, and then we'll just pay ourselves back? And no, everything has to be in a budget, it has to have a line on them. So we do have a fund now set up so that we can draw from that fund, clean these properties up. When they sell, we can pay back the fund, and we'll have multiple properties going at the same time, money coming in, money going out. So we do have a fund to clean up these properties now.
Thank you. Mr. Oxley, what would be your plan for homeless services, and what work can be done to clean up the mess left behind by homeless encampments?
The homelessness creates a real health issue and a safety issue. And narcotics are rampant in the homeless camps. So the first thing you have to do is we need to work and encourage Sheriff Johnson to get the deputies out there to make the arrests on the mules that are bringing in the drugs to these camps. They use the drugs and they go back out to the streets to panhandle, and then the cycle just continues. So we need to start by enforcing and arresting these mules and getting them out of here. And then we also need to find out where these people live. If they're not residents of Shasta County, we need to give them a ticket and a bus ride out of here back to the county from which they came. We do not need them here. There is no state law that says we have to keep them here. If they're being a public nuisance, if they're destroying property and creating a health issue for us and our children, they need to go away. The other issue that I have with this, and I found this out from a family that Wendy knows, they had an encampment of people on their property. They were told by the county to clean it up, and they would be charged and billed for it. So they cleaned it up at their expense when it's really a county problem. If the county's not going to kick these homeless people off, who's going to be? And why should the homeowner be responsible for doing something that these illegal people are doing? The county should not bill these families for, or should not threaten the loss of their properties if they don't clean up the homeless camps. This particular family took out tens of thousands of trash at their expense when it should have been a county problem, in my opinion. Homelessness that's an option that people choose. We have the option to not allow them here.
Thank you, Mr. Oxley. Mr. Gallagher,
Could you send that one more time, please, ma'am?
what is your plan for homeless services? What more could be done to clean up the mess left behind by homeless encampments?
Yeah, I know we did some research and we had a gathering a number of years ago, and we learned that in the homeless environment, you have it's basically split into thirds. About a third of the people would actually receive services if you could get to them and offer it. About a third. About a third doesn't want services. They're just broken, and we have to have compassion for them, and they do not want to be helped. And then the other third is the criminal element. Now, addressing the criminal element is a problem because we have a jail that doesn't have a bed for them. So we can arrest and then we kick them loose. Day after day, week after week, month after month. I'm encouraged to hear that we're remodeling the floor of the jail, but that doesn't help the problem on the streets. So it's not actually against the law to be homeless, but if they are breaking the law, then we have to deal with that. So I think that we really have to figure out how to get some resources available to help the third that wants to be helped, that would take the help. I don't actually have a plan in my mind of exactly how to do that. The amount of homeless, we did some work, my wife and I did some work with the homeless, more than my wife. It's a very tough nut to crack. They're very broken individuals. They wouldn't be homeless if they weren't. And it's a very difficult demographic to get them up and out of where they're at. When it comes to cleaning up the homeless camps, sometimes what we've done in the city of Anderson is we've set aside funds, we just get out there and get it done. The county's a much larger area, so that's going to be much more expensive. I don't know where the budget's at, if they have, where the line items at that Mr. Kellstrom talked about, but if you're a private citizen, I'm out of time, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Next, Mr. Kellstrom.
Oh, are we on a new question?
We are, and I started the last one.
I had it down for, okay, so you're all right. Well, then, Mr. Gallagher, I'm trying to follow, I'm trying to be orderly about this, so
You're doing great.
I have you next to me first. So the question is, what do you see as a path forward to improve access to affordable housing in Shasta County?
Well, currently, that's about the only thing being built in Shasta County, because we don't have an environment that's conducive to private contractors building single-family homes. The state is giving the money to organizations, and when we talk about affordable, I would tell you it's pretty much not affordable. I'll make my point. So what happens is they have to stack fund projects with multiple areas of resources, meaning monies, from different buckets of money from the state. And one of the main buckets is active transportation, or bike and ped. They call it bike and ped. It's for walking and pedaling. If you get that money, you can usually build your project. The challenge with that is, as much as I love Just Lugo up in Shasta Lake City, the project that they're building on Main Street there is going to cost the taxpayers about $736,000 per unit. It is the math, and I'm being conservative on that number. It's probably higher than that. Then the challenge is that it will be subsidized by the taxpayer. And then in 20 years, when it needs to be rehabbed, they're going to get a grant from the state that's going to be our tax dollars to rehab it. That's the way it works, folks. You don't have to like it, but that's the truth. So, over the last 15 years or so, we built 400 homes in Anderson, but that died off with the economy. We do have a Section 8 housing project coming to North Street, and I believe it's going to be a good project because it's for the elderly. It's very specific, and they do a great job of running that. But right now in California, it's the only projects that are being built that I can see. Very few single-family homes.
Thank you. Mr. Kellstrom, what do you see as a path forward to improve access to affordable housing in Shasta County?
Well, first of all, we all talk about affordable housing, and it drives me crazy because in this state that we live in, you have to have solar, you have to have a Tesla plug, you have to have all electric appliances, and you have to have fire sprinklers. So you just added $100,000 on the cost of every single home out there. So that kind of drives me crazy. With that being said, I have a project right now that I'm working with some developers, 95 starter homes in Cottonwood, and we're having a roundtables meeting tomorrow with builders and Health and Human Services. There's a $1.5 million grant out there for workforce housing that has been flown several times and no one has ever taken it up on it and applied for it. So I have a contractor now that this project is perfect for that grant. There is no low income tied to it. I know the project that Mr. Gallagher was just speaking of in North Street, yeah, 3 of the units are for senior citizens, low-income senior citizens, which is great, but one of the other units is for homeless. So I believe that's why you guys didn't send a letter of support to it when it was going through. So most of these grants do have low income tied to it. This particular one does not. So we're looking at 95 starter homes in Cottonwood, which is a pretty exciting project because ever since COVID, the school attendance has dropped drastically. So we need more kids in our school, and this is a great project for the county and a great project for Cottonwood.
Thank you. Mr. Oxley.
I want to circle back to the homeless just for a second. Because there's one other aspect that I want to say is for the homeless who want help, we can provide that help for them. I've already started speaking to one gentleman who has experience with the California Conservation Corps. And my thought is that we could create something like the Civilian Conservation Corps that President Roosevelt started back in the 30s. Let's create some jobs specific for the homeless so that they can build up their integrity, respect for themselves, and be able to get back and integrate into our society. But they have to be willing to work. We cannot afford to give free things away anymore, you guys. We just can't. As far as the affordable housing goes, that gets tied back to in order for it to be affordable, people have to have income to be able to afford it. I do not believe in any subsidized housing for any of us. We can't afford that. So what we need to do is we need to try to help people be independent by trying to create jobs. And one of the things that I've looked at into doing is in this rural county that we have, if you go back to the 50s versus compared to what we have now, we only have half the number of cattle that's available for market as compared to the 50s. We need to start producing and raising more animals and be able to provide that food for our own people here. But by doing that, we can create more jobs for folks. So affordable housing, we would all like affordable housing, but you have to have the means to take care of yourself, and the taxpayers should not be subsidizing that for people, because myself, as a retired person, I can't afford to pay it. So I think we need, as supervisors, we can help create jobs for people so that they can afford their own homes.
Thank you. This is going to be our last question, and it will be to you first, Mr. Kellstrom. How will you stop the revolving door at the jail?
Well, again, we have to get an alternative custody of some sort, because that jail's AB 109, put a whole bunch of state prisoners in that jail. Those guys aren't going anywhere. The criminals that are in the jail are pretty bad guys. Some of them are awaiting trial, and we can't let them go, so they skip out. So that's the toughest job in the jail, is the guy that, the booking officer that has to sit there and decide, do I let the child molester go, or do I let the car thief that's on his third car this week? We need a bigger jail. We cannot expand the jail that we have now. So all we can really do is keep it full, keep it at the capacity, keep all the levels open on that, which we are staffed to do that. So again, my thoughts are, and I'll talk to the sheriff about it, if we are sending criminals out now from our jail into Calaveras County and some of these other areas, well, once our jail, when we get those guys back and our jail is full, I would like to look into farming some of these guys out to jails that aren't full in other areas.
Mr. Oxley, how will you stop the revolving door at the jail?
If we don't have beds for criminals, where do you put them? That's the bottom line. What are we going to do with these folks? We have dug ourselves a huge hole. And myself, and if I was elected and as part of the board of supervisors, we're not going to have all the answers on how to solve and fix that hole. We've got a character problem in this country. We have kids who are being raised that have no morals and values and respect for other people. So as we look about how to stop this revolving door, we have to, this generation here, if it doesn't start with us, and if we don't fix the problem, the younger generations are not going to know how to fix the problem. We lived in a time where we know what respect is. We know what honor is. And we have to somehow or another get that back to our kids. So to stop the revolving door, that's not an immediate fix. And whether you let a murderer out or a rapist out, you're putting a dangerous criminal back out on the streets. So that's not an easy answer, and we don't have an easy fix. But I know that we can fix it, but we have to go back to our basics. We have to start the leadership, from the leadership down, on teaching morals and values, and letting people know, hey, it's not right to do that. We have an amazing thing called technology, and I've yet to see any commercials from the Board of Supervisors telling people, hey, this isn't right, kids. And what are we doing as boards of supervisors to help parents who came from broken homes to teach their kids to do different? We can do different. We can work with the pastors in this community, but it has to start at the beginning.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher, how will you stop the revolving door at the jail?
You know, I'm going to go back to my original or earlier statement. I think you get the state back involved. You go to the most recently built prison, because that'll be the easiest one to rehab. You get that thing open. You give every county a little relief. And you go to the next newest prison, and you get those doors opened. President Trump thinks he can open Alcatraz. I bet we could get Susanville back open. You know, because that is the reality that we find ourselves in. I appreciate Mr. Oxley's passion. That's the 40-year fix. That's 2 generations from now. We don't have that kind of time. We have to do something now, and the answer is, those facilities are already built, folks. They're just sitting there empty. It's not a heavy lift to get those doors back opened, and then closed, obviously. We wouldn't want to just leave that open. You guys are a rough crowd. That was kind of funny. So thank you, George. George Winship's there for me. So I really do believe with all my heart that is the answer moving forward. We just have to get these state penitentiaries back open. I want to circle back though on the statement that Mr. Kelstra made. The 1 bed, which is not accurate, there are 11 beds in that facility that we said yes to that are set-asides for 62 and older that are at risk of going homeless. It's the model that this organization has used for years. They have multiple facilities operating now. They do an amazing job of not only taking care of their facilities, so people, elderly folks who are at risk, have a very nice place to live, but they also partner and contract with local wraparound services so that they're not just living in a little cardboard box and left alone. So I'm out of time.
Well, that's all right, because we are going to have closing statements now, so you'll get 2 more minutes, Mr. Gallagher. Closing statements are 2 minutes, and our first candidate is Mr. Kelstra.
I thought number 3 would go first on closing statements. No, I'm fine with that, I don't care. I'm good, that's fine. Okay, so my closing statement. So I've done a lot of work, I've started a lot of work, I've got a lot of work done, I still have a lot of work to do. So I would really appreciate your vote in June. There's a lot of big projects that I am in the middle of right now that I want to see through. Again, I'm proud of the work that we've done, I'm proud of the personnel that we've brought on, I'm proud of the direction that the county's going in. My pet projects or my pet departments are usually public works and resource management. I'm down there, I'm either on the phone with them or down there almost on a weekly basis. I had a phone call today and a phone call yesterday with issues that were going on there. So I want to continue that work. And again, I brought term limits to the county. You guys voted for it, 77%. So this will be my last term. I just want to be able to finish stuff out. And I do believe with term limits too, I do believe that it puts a fire in you. If there's a fire in me, I know that I don't have 16 years to get something done or 20 years to get something done. You know, I've gotten a lot done in 4 years. There's a lot more I want to get done, and I need 4 more years to do that.
Thank you so much. Mr. Gallagher.
Thanks much. Thanks again for all of you coming out. I have 11 years serving the city. I think what sets me apart is experience. I started in the planning commission. I did 4 years where I learned about all things planning, learned about land use and how, design review and master plans and how we design a city for the long term. I learned all those things while I was a planning commissioner, and I really loved those 4 years. I am also on a second term. I'm ending my term, although I could run again in Anderson. I'm choosing to run for the supervisor position in District 5. So I have double the experience of the gentleman on my right to your left, and I have a lot more experience than somebody like Mr. Oxley that has none. And experience matters. anywhere you go in life, if you're gonna have somebody serve you, wouldn't you rather have somebody with some experience and knowledge about how things work and how things actually work and where the money comes from and how it flows? I think that's very important no matter what we do in life and where you go. So I chose to run, and my wife and I chose to sacrifice the next 5 years of our life to serve, which I've done in the city of Anderson. I've been very honored to serve the wonderful people who live here and to serve the amazing staff that work at the city of Anderson. And I think we've done really well. There's been ups and downs, there's been some hard times and some good times, but experience matters, and that's what sets me far apart from the two gentlemen I happen to be sitting next to right now.
Thank you. Mr. Moxley?
Experience is very important, and I do have the experience. I don't have experience in politics, but I have experience in life. And private experience in business goes a long ways. So I have no doubt in my mind of my ability to run as a supervisor and act accordingly, and to provide the leadership that Shasta County needs. I chose to run before Mr. Gallagher got in because of decisions that Mr. Kelsterman made. And the primary one is the parental right issue. He chose to never contact this family for 2 years, and she lost her rights. So to have somebody speak that they're for your rights but not do anything does not speak the truth. Mr. Kelsterman did not support Measure B, and that was the right of the people to do so. He didn't support the alternative custody program, or he supported the custody program on Anderson when the people didn't want it. So I don't believe that he's really listening to the people. And then they get a pay raise, a $31,000 pay raise, and they deny a 40 cents per hour increase for in-home support services workers. Now to me, you guys, that doesn't take years of experience to understand that those things are not right. No, I haven't served in government before, but I've served the people that I've worked with. I have the leadership, I have the experience, and I have the moral values and integrity to make the hard, tough decisions when it needs to be done. I really appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oxley. So the League of Women Voters has another forum coming up on April 22nd, and it is for the Registrar of Voters. So their candidates Clint Curtis and Joanna Francesca will be at the Shasta County Reading Library Community Room. On May 1st, we're going to have a forum for the California Assembly representative for District 1, and that will be at the Riverfront Theater downtown. We may have another forum, but that has not been formalized yet. So if you know someone who has not yet registered to vote, tell them to go to vote.ca.gov. That concludes our forum. Thanks to the candidates, thanks to the audience, and thanks to Frontier Senior Center for hosting us.